Henry Goodman speaking. I'm with the law offices of Goodman, Shapiro, and Lombardi. We work in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire, with offices in Dedham, Massachusetts, and Lincoln, Rhode Island. Today we're going to discuss some of the problems that came up in the winter of 2015, which can happen over and over again. In many ways, we can almost say that the title of this segment is the title of a horror movie. It came from outside, and in many ways it is horrible. There were roof leaks, rising water tables, groundwater, flooding, ice dams, burst pipes, collapsing roofs, foundation cracks, windstorms, and windswept rain, as well as unknown potential resulting issues, which really were the horrors. In the early winter of 2015, the Northeast, especially Massachusetts, was hit with extraordinary cold and historic snow, accompanied with ice damming, burst pipes, roof collapse, slips and falls, property damage, and totally blown snow removal budgets. Boards and homeowners have many questions.
Now comes the real important question that you all have. How do we make up our budget shortfall as a result of the blown budget beast? Well, our office represents numerous lenders who are lending money to associations. I will tell you that these loans are excellent sources of financing and can provide much needed revenue for many important projects within the condominium. This is an important and even a desirable avenue for cash-strapped associations to pursue. We also know that there are many associations that may be stretched to the limit financially with their existing loans. Despite the popularity and appeal of these loans, there are still boards who are reluctant to borrow money. So while we are more than happy to recommend one of our lender associates, there may be another source of cash available to associations who are adverse to borrowing money. It is certainly possible to borrow from yourselves. Borrow from your reserves to cover this unexpected and extraordinary expense. Of course, any such borrowing must be properly done and repaid in accordance with an appropriate schedule of repayment. You may very well wish to consult with your accountant in order to make sure no Internal Revenue Service regulations concerning the proper use of reserve accounts are violated. You may also wish to consider amending your budget to increase your income stream. This can be done through an increase in your common area fees as a result of an amended budget, or a special assessment can be voted upon. While we do not recommend special assessments because of the technicalities of the priority lien, nevertheless, they are an important tool in the toolbox that is available to boards to conquer this blown budget beast.
Okay, now we've talked about the horrors of the ice dam itself, the waterfall coming out of your sliding door, okay, or having to put buckets on the ceiling of your bedroom and whatnot. And we talked about the horrors of the budget overruns. Okay, now let's talk about the infamous question: who's going to pay for the damage? Who's going to pay for all of this? The answer is, hopefully, insurance. Now, the condominium has a master insurance policy. Most master policies cover for the water and storm damage. Will the association's master policy cover for this type of loss? As it is most of the time in life, the devil is in the details. Insurance policies vary from company to company, so what I will tell you is a generalization in common to most but not all. So what are the covered causes of loss here? Typically, the policy will start off with language such as any loss, but later, within the language, it says unless excluded or limited in the policy. Again, the devil's in the details. These are the famous or infamous exclusions, and attention must be paid to them. By way of example, there's generally coverage for a loss due to a burst pipe as a result of freezing, but the policy will not pay for the repair of the pipe itself, just the damage that was caused from it. Typically, specified causes of loss are windstorm, hail, the weight of snow on the roofs, ice or sleet. Again, I'm intentionally using the word typically because I cannot emphasize enough that there can be variation in policies. Elsewhere in the typical policy, there are further limitations on what is covered, such as loss due to defects, rust, corrosion, floods, which can be covered by flood insurance, but some policies will cover loss of contents due to flood, but not the premises. Surface water, waves, tides, dampness, and many, many other items. As to items that are covered, there may be a high deductible. Now, what do I mean by deductible? Let's just say there's $50,000 worth of coverage, and there's a deductible of $10,000. That means $40,000 will be covered. The other $10,000 has to be absorbed by the association, or in certain circumstances, a homeowner's policy. Now, if the condominium's master policy or your own homeowner's policy has loss assessment coverage, you may be insured against an increase in the common fees due to the damage to that property caused by the covered cause of loss. A homeowner's policy usually will not respond until the master insurance policy indicates that it's not going to pay with regard to an individual's claim. There are also required procedures, definitions, and time limitations for making claims. The point of all this is that each policy has differences. However, whether you suffer a loss from ice damming, roof collapse due to snow melt, iced over drains, windstorm or wind-driven rain, or other causes, your condominium's master insurance policy needs to be reviewed carefully to see how to put in a claim and whether such claim will in fact ultimately be covered. Know your deductible and have an HO6 or similar policy that dovetails nicely with the master policy so that the deductible will be mainly covered, and so that items not covered in the master policy may in fact be covered on the homeowner's HO6 policy. If you have such issues, remember, we have many, many years of experience in representing condominium associations and stand ready to help you.
Mother Nature can deliver harsh punishment. And when she does, people often ask, who is responsible? Who is going to take care of my property? If the property has been properly maintained, and in the absence of negligence on the part of someone else, each unit owner may be responsible for the loss to their own property. The board and unit owners, therefore, need to be certain that they have sufficient, adequate insurance coverage, or they face the inevitable prospect of paying for their own damages out of pocket without the benefit of that expensive insurance policy that they purchased and thought would cover all their losses. So people ask, well, why would an owner have the responsibility if the problem started in the common areas? Remember, I had said that this sounds like a horror movie. It comes from outside. And the answer is that under our law, each person is responsible for his own loss. And that responsibility only shifts to someone else if they have been negligent in causing your loss. Unless, of course, they have a contract whereby they assume the responsibility for your loss, or if there is a law that makes them responsible. Now, before we go much further, we ought to define one thing. People want to know, what is ice damming and how does it occur? And in simplest terms, it is a condition that occurs when liquid, whether water or melting snow, freezes. Freezing water expands and finds its way into shingles that have been poorly sealed or not sealed at all. When it melts again due to warmth from the home or the sun, unless there is an effective ice and water shield, it leaks into the home. It can destroy ceilings and furniture and sometimes becomes the cause of mold. Now, it may be too late to stop ice damming once ice is formed. Damage may be limited, however, by chopping the ice and putting down salt or ice melt. I've heard it helps to clear snow and ice from roofs. And the question comes up, Who should be clearing snow and ice from the roofs? If snow and ice are to be removed, it is up to the board and management to arrange for that. Unit owners have no right to go onto the roofs themselves. If they do, they can be liable for any damage they cause to the roof, no matter how good their intentions were. They may negate insurance claims, and they may have no insurance coverage if they get injured. Absent truly extraordinary circumstances, boards should not permit access to the common area roofs. Doing so would expose the association to liability if an injury or damage were to occur. If you think there is a chance that roofs are going to collapse due to the weight of snow and ice, it would be wise to hire a professional company to send people onto the roofs to remove some of the snow and ice. Unfortunately, as in the winter of 2015, many professional companies are booked for weeks in advance, and some even stop answering their telephones completely. Casual labor should only be hired to do that type of work if the association is properly insured, such as with workers' compensation. Check with your insurance agent to find out if you are covered or if you can obtain insurance should you find it necessary to hire an uninsured person or company to remove snow and ice dams. I've been asked by several associations and managers that if there are steps and walkways in the common areas of the condominium, can sand and ice be left out for use by each unit owner? And can we tell them that they are responsible for their own steps and walkways? The board and the property manager have the responsibility to keep all common areas where people are expected to walk or to be on free and clear of ice and snow. This is true not only while weather conditions dump snow, but also afterwards, even when it has been cleaned up and later melts and refreezes in a cleared area. Failure to be diligent and perform this duty in a reasonable time and manner could lead to liability in cases of slip and fall and other related accidents. As this is the board's obligation, it cannot shift the burden merely by giving out sand and salt. However, if those areas are limited common areas for which the owners are responsible, then it is the owner who must take care. If you have issues with winter problems or any other problems dealing with condominium associations, you need your insurance policies interpreted, or anything else, remember our website is www.goshlaw.com. Our offices are in Dedham, Massachusetts and Lincoln, Rhode Island. Our toll-free number is 877-241-1600. We are Condominium. Thank you.